Hi everyone, this is Tuplex. Welcome back. Before we get started today, just a quick announcement. When you see this episode, I think it'll be Christmas Day. I am going to be traveling between Christmas and the New Year to visit family. So I'm recording as many episodes in advance as I can so that I can continue uploading daily. But I think it's more than likely that there will be at least a couple of days where there will be no videos between Christmas and New Year. So I apologize for that in advance. Next time I'll try to be farther ahead on my recordings to avoid that situation. But it shouldn't be more than a couple of days that you'll have to wait before I get back with more episodes. So appreciate your patience. So let's get started. As you can see here, I have put down a couple more iron lines because we have been running low on iron plate. Although you can't see it right now. Steel certainly could use a little more speed. So what I'd like to do is get these iron lines hooked up. I am going to need to bring in more iron ore. But this iron patch down here, this is already fully covered with drills and depleting rapidly. The iron patch that we started with is also completely covered. So there's not much more iron to be had here that's conveniently located. We could run very long belts, but I think what I'd like to do in the very near future is to get a mining outpost set up over here on this patch. That's why I've already labeled it with a number 1. So this will be iron number 1. And we'll set up a train station over here. That's got 36 million ore. In fact, what I'd like to do is I'd like to start labeling these with their initial value. So that way we can take a look at it and we can kind of get a handle on where we stand in terms of where we started with, and that'll help us kind of gauge, how depleted these various patches are. I forgot to do that with this one, but I'll try to remember to do that going forward. The other thing I wanted to show you is I did put some circuit control in the coal station. So let's head over there just so I can show you that real quickly. I'll just take I'll take my train over there. I also added a passenger station there so that we can go to the outpost without blocking traffic. So let's head over there now. Basically what I wanted to do is set it up so that the boxes or the chests at the mining outpost are loaded evenly. Because if we don't do that, what we'll see is that, for example, as the belt comes over, these first couple chests will fill up first. And then when the train comes, the other chests towards the end of the belt are going to empty fairly quickly because they don't have as much material inside. And then what happens is you end up with only 1 or 2 inserters loading the train car, which obviously takes longer to fill the rail car. So by keeping the chests loaded evenly, you can keep all 4 or all 6, depending on how you set it up. You can keep all the inserters active, and then the train will load more quickly. So let's take a look at how we do that. The first thing that we do is we take one of the wires and we wire all the chests together so that we can get a readout on the total quantity of coal in this case in all the chests. And then we wire that up to the input of an arithmetic combinator. So if we hover over this, we can see that the input signal is 12,000. So that's how much coal we have in all these chests. They're completely full at the moment. And then I set it to divide each. We could also say divide coal, but I just have it as each, so that way it's easy to copy, and no matter what the contents of the chests are, it will work. So it'll divide each input by -16. The 16 is because that's how many chests we have. What we want to do is calculate the average contents of all the chests So we would take the total and divide it by 16. And then I also want to make that a negative number, which is why we divide by negative 16. So that means that the average contents of all these chests is 800, and then we make that a negative number. And then we wire that output to each one of the inserters. Okay, and then it's hard to see, but I have another wire, a green one in this case, that's connected between each chest and the inserter that feeds it. Okay, so now I'm getting a minus 800 to each of these inserters from the combinator. And then I'm getting a positive value of the contents of each chest. In this case, it's also 800. So they're going to add up to 0, right? And then I set the inserter to only activate if the value is less than or equal to 0. So basically what this does is that any chest that has less than the average of all the chests will activate the inserter, because you'll have a positive number in the chest that's less than the negative number here, so you'll still have a negative number. It'll be less than or equal to 0, and then the inserter will run. So basically these inserters will only fill the chests that have fewer than the average in all the chests, and that just helps to make them fill evenly. So let me bring the train over here so that we can empty these boxes a bit, so you can see how it works. And actually, if I take out one stack, for example, you can see that that one now is working and has a green light, and all the other ones are red. And then once it gets filled up, then they all turn green again, because they all have the same amount. So that's essentially how it works. Train will be here for a minute, and then in a minute, and then you can see it working. Okay, so now these chests are getting emptied out. And then if you take a look at the inserters, you can see the lights changing from red to green as each chest gets above or below the average. And if we hover over the chests, we can see that they all have pretty close to the same amount. It's not exact because the stack inserters don't pick up one at a time. If they did, the numbers would be much closer together. But here they can, obviously each box could differ by up to, whatever the stack inserters can pick up. So this does cause the chest to load a little bit more slowly, because you're slowing down, essentially, the inserters that are filling the chests. But it does keep them fairly evenly loaded. See, and you can see them working now. You can see how it slows down, but again, if we hover over each chest, you can see that they're all going to hover pretty close to the same quantity until they're all full. Okay, and if you look at the output signal here, you can see that negative average. In this case, it's at 545, 546, and it slowly creeps up as the chests fill up. So it's I think it's probably simpler than it is to explain it. It's fairly simple to set up. I'll put a blueprint for that in case you all want to use that and experiment with it. Okay, let's head back to the station. Oh, and I was informed quite correctly that I made a mistake in the number of mining drills that I used here. I think I said 24 would fill a belt. And I think it's 26 to fill a yellow belt. It's in the cheat sheet. I didn't look at it, and I didn't remember the number, and I gave you a number for yellow belt rather than red belt. But we also have to keep in mind that as of now, we also have 16% mining productivity. So the numbers on the cheat sheet all assume that you don't have any mining productivity. So as you start adding productivity, it'll take fewer and fewer miners to compress a belt. So we need to keep that in mind as well. Anyway, we've got plenty of coal coming in, so that's great. All right, yeah, so what I'd like to do, first of all, is I'd like to upgrade the steel line to use steel furnaces and red belts. So let's do that real quickly, and then I want to start setting up blue circuits so that we can get to work on the next level of science packs. so this should be fairly quick. The output belt is going to remain yellow because even with all of these upgraded to steel furnaces, it won't be enough to fill a yellow belt. So we don't have to upgrade the output belt, but we do have to upgrade the belt that feeds in the ore, because we're now doubling the rate of consumption by changing to the steel furnaces. But the output is still 5 times slower than normal plates, since we need, 5 plates of iron to make 1 plate of steel. Alright, and then we need to upgrade this to a red belt. Obviously, we're not going to be getting a full red belt since we only have 2 red belts coming in. Actually, maybe what we could do, maybe we could go ahead, since I have 4 red belts coming in. They're not full belts, but we could go ahead and upgrade this to 4 belts right now, and that might help us get a little more throughput. So let's go ahead and do that. And we can do one of the high volume extractors here. I think that would be appropriate. There we go. Now, once I bring in a train, I think I'd like to just get 5 belts coming up here, so I have a dedicated belt for steel and then dedicated belts for each of the iron lines. I should probably let's put a balancer here. There we go. All right, and then I'll just use my bots to help me out with this. Whoops. Ah, crap. That's a little frustrating. Okay, let's try that again. Let's be a little more careful this time. Okay, so this one needs to come over here, like so. And that one needs to come over there. Okay. And let me get rid of this stuff. There. Okay, so now we have 4 iron lines. Again, I don't expect all 4 of these to be completely full once all this backed up ore gets taken care of, but we should be at least getting a little more output for the time being. Okay, so let's start working on blue circuits. Now my calculations tell me that we need 15 blue assemblers making blue circuits just for the science packs. So I would normally round that up to 16, but I think I'm just going to start by setting it up with 24, because I want to have a lot of extra blue circuits to make modules, and particularly to start building better power armor, and start saving some up for the personal fusion reactor. I did add another vertical path over here, as you can see, so we'll start over on the other side of that. Actually, we'll just move over here to the other side of these roboports. I'll get rid of this cliff. This looks like it might be a good place to put a couple of turrets for defense. All right, so we'll start building this just to the right of these power poles. Do I have any brick? Very little. Okay, but I do have enough that I can use bots to put some of this stuff down. So I'll just run this out here to the edge of my robo coverage, and we'll let the bots in the network take care of that for us. All right, so let's grab an assembler, and I'll leave myself a few spaces. So we'll start building over here. Yeah, we have a lot of empty space, but you know, space is a commodity that is in ample supply. All right, and actually I think I don't want to leave space. No, I take that back. I do want to leave space in between. All right, so let's set one up, and then we'll take a look at the recipe. We need many green circuits, 20 each. And since I'm going to have 20 machines on each side, no, what did I say? 24. So we're going to have 12 machines on each side. So that's going to be, let me get my calculator here. I want to figure out how many belts of green circuits we're going to need. All right, so we have 20 every 10 seconds per machine. That's 2 per second times 0.75, because we're using blue assemblers. So that's 1.5 per second times 24 machines. That's 36 green circuits per second, which means that we're going to need, divided by 26.6, we're going to need about 1.5 belts of green circuits. So one red belt on each side will be enough. Okay, so we'll have a red belt of green circuits. We'll have a yellow belt of red circuits. Red circuits only need one every 5 seconds. 1 divided by 5, that's 0.2 times 24 times 0.75. So 3.6 per second. That can easily be handled with half a belt, half a yellow belt. Okay, and then we'll have the sulfuric acid. And then we'll need red inserters. Now let's see, 20 every 10 seconds is 2 per second. That's easily done with blue inserters, so we can use blue inserters there. And then we can put a power pole right there. And then we can have yellow inserters on the output, since it's a 10-second cycle time. It's quite slow. Those can feed onto a yellow belt. And then I think we can toss a light there in the middle. Right, so this is our primary production unit here. Let's grab a blueprint of that, and then we'll just repeat it down the line. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And then we need to do the same on the other side, but reversed, like so. We can't flip the whole thing because then the belts would be going in the wrong direction. All right, and then we can trim the excess belt. There. And we're good to go. Just need to wait a few minutes for the bots to finish. Okay, and then we need to connect all the acid. There. And then let's get the acid added to the main bus. Let's see here. I like to keep the pipes aligned when possible. It's not super important, but I like to do that just because it makes it easier to drive through with a car and so forth. All right, and so we need to come up here. I think that's right. Yep. Okay. The bots are going crazy with their deliveries. All right, so now we just have to feed the circuits over there. I'm going to get rid of these extra engines that I always seem to pick up. All right, let's get some power in. Okay, so let's start with the green circuits. I keep doing this to myself, don't I? Okay. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right, and then red I'm gonna have to take from even farther back. Or from either farther over. But that's okay because what I'll do in the case of the red is I'll split it when we get down there. We can feed both sides with the same red belt. Okay. I'll just copy that whole thing to save some time. There. Okay. And we're making blue circuits. Excellent. And then what I want to do is, well, let's take a look. Power armor needs 40. The nuclear reactor, which I can't make yet, but that takes 250. So we're going to want about 300 of these things to start with. And I think these stack in 200, so 2 stacks ought to do it. So I'll just let this build up for a while. Until we get what we need to make the things that we want. Now, this is going to put a big drain on our green circuit production. So let's work at getting that built up as well. All right, so we need to upgrade all of these belts to red, which we had started doing but didn't finish. So let's get that done first of all. And then we're gonna copy in some additional machines. Let's just do that to keep things balanced. Now these belts feeding in from the side, they can be yellow. They don't have to be red. So I'll leave those alone. But these main belts down the middle obviously will need to be red. Okay, so I think everything's up to red belts now. And then we'll just need to, we'll also need to upgrade these lines bringing in copper. Those need to be red. So let's get that taken care of. All the belts feeding up to it are red already, so this is all that we need to do to get that additional throughput. And eventually we'll have to bring in another half of a red belt on each side, because eventually these copper lines will run out. Okay, so let's extend these belts, and I think this is now, I think this will be a tileable unit. Let's go from there to there. Oops. Nope. Need more belt over here on this side. There we go. Now it should be a tileable unit. Let's see, so we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. Calculations say we need 28. And again, that's just for the science packs. So 24, there's 28. And I'll add another, whoops. Nope, don't do that. I'll add another 2 or 3 just to give ourselves some extra capacity. There. I think I need more roboports. Yeah, for sure. Alright, let's grab my roboport book here. Nice. That worked out perfectly. And we avoided the need to have anything on the paths. Put that there. I think that goes there. Okay. And then we need another power pole up here. Okay. So the bots should take care of the rest of that. And for now we have a lot more green circuits. And again, we have to remember that this green circuit layout is designed for use with modules and beacons. So these machines are not working at full speed yet, as we can see there. But once we get productivity modules and beacons, speed beacons and all those, then they'll be running at close to full speed. So this is kind of a intermediate setup, I would say. Okay, well that's going to do it for this episode. In the next episode, we will start to set up the high-tech science packs. That's the last tier of science pack that we need to do. And then from that point forward, we'll be basically focusing on expansion. So should be pretty exciting. Thanks again for watching. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. If you like what you see, please consider hitting like for me. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.